Guys, what is happening? Welcome to the video, and I am super excited for today's video because we are talking about audio automation. Audio automation can really help convey a story with just your audio. And I've got an example here you're gonna see in a second, our final product of how the audio really tells the story of the clip. And then I'm gonna show you how we started with something that you would listen to and you'd be like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And how we can automate our audio to make changes over time and really convey the story of what's going on in a scene. So I've wanted to get into this for a long time, but I was a little confused by it, and you may be too. So let's just talk about what is audio automation real quick, just so you have an understanding of what it is and kind of how it works. So when it comes to audio automation, essentially it's like keyframes for audio. Now you might be thinking, well, hey, I can keyframe some audio, right? If we look in the inspector in DaVinci Resolve, in the edit tab, or even in Fairlight, we can keyframe things like volume or panning, but there's not a whole lot of other things that we can keyframe, right? And that is where audio automation comes into play. Automation allows you to essentially keyframe. It's not called keyframes, but it's like keyframes. Keyframe anything that has to do with your audio. You can keyframe panning, you can keyframe volume, just like we can with regular keyframes, right? But then we can automate things like the EQ. We can automate effects. We can automate dynamics. Pretty much any parameter that has to do with audio, you can automate or make changes to over time. So the whole automation thing can go really deep, really quick. I'm gonna try and keep it fairly basic. I'm not gonna go in depth on any of the tools too much, but I wanna give you guys a little taste of what you can do with automation of your audio to really help convey a story. So let me go ahead and roll the tape of our final product. If you've got some good headphones, maybe you got some good cans like these guys right here, put those on. If you've got good speakers, put those on and listen to the audio and listen to all the different things that are happening in our audio in this clip. And then we're gonna talk about how do we get there, right? Because I certainly didn't start with what you're gonna hear in the final product here. Check out this video, and then we're gonna jump in Resolve, and I'm gonna show you how to create the entire thing using audio automation.
See you later.
So what'd you guys think of that? Could you hear everything that was happening with our audio? Could you hear it coming from the right to the left, the volume changing, the thumping of the bass, and then the music opening up? We hear the whole thing, and then putting in the headphones. A lot of stuff happening there, and I did it all using audio automation. But that's not where it started, right? Here's where it started. Looking in Resolve, I had my video track, and when I filmed the video, I just had a little bit of dialogue. Alls we heard, if I solo my audio track, alls I heard was this. There was no music, no anything happening in the car. I created all of that right in DaVinci Resolve. So I just had the vocal of this.
Dad, the music's too loud. Turn it down.
My bad. Just put in my headphones here. Fix that right up.
Okay, so that's all there was. There was no music. And then I added a music track in another track below that, right? Now, when I added the music track in, it was just your standard music track that was already mixed and mastered and everything. It was just full volume, right? So looking at the whole clip together, let me play it for you, and you can just hear what it sounds like. And then we're gonna get into creating all of this spatial kind of sound and changing the way the sound is to really help tell the story of this clip. So here's what it sounded like when I got started.
Here, fix that right up. See you later.
Okay, so that's the whole clip, right? It was just one normal music clip. And now what we want to do is just create that whole story, right, with our audio. So in order to do it, we are going to jump into Fairlight, musical notes at the bottom here. So now that we're in Fairlight here, the first thing you probably want to do is go up to Workspace and reset your UI layout. Now, I've already done this, but this will ensure that you're looking at the same screen and the same things on your screen that I'm looking at. Let's talk about automation and how can we get started here using it in Fairlight. So first, we need to turn on our automation tools. So if we come in our toolbar, right here, we have Toggle Automation. You can turn that on, and now we're going to be able to at least enable our automation. Next, we have the automation controls. We're going to want to go ahead and turn that on. Now, I'm not going to go in detail on all these controls here. I'm going to save that for another video, but I just want to give you guys an overview of how you can get started here and how we create these awesome changes using automation. We are going to just leave it on right for the first icon. Under touch, we're going to leave that on off. On stop, you want to change this to hold if it's on anything different there, so that when we stop, our changes hold where we stop. And then on enables here, we're going to want to turn on the EQ because we only want to affect the EQ settings to get started here. We want to be able to create the sound that we want, from the thumping bass to the full sound of the music to the tinny metallic headphone sound. We want to create that, and we're going to use the EQ to do that. So this is where you just select which things will be recorded as you make changes in real time. So you can select as many of these as you want, but in my case here, I only want to start with the EQ. The next thing we want to do is actually open up the EQ for our music track, right? So I'm going to go ahead and double click the EQ in the mixer here. And again, if you don't have your mixer open, mixer at the top, EQ, you can scroll up and down with your middle mouse wheel if you need to. Double click, open the EQ. Now, the other thing you want to have open is your video, because the automation changes happen in real time over time, right? So you're going to play back your video. You're going to make the changes in real time while your video is playing back. Those changes will be recorded and saved, so that way when you stop, then go back and play through your video again, you're going to hear the changes that we make to the EQ in this case over time. So it's important that we see our video. Looking back in Resolve, I'm just going to pop out the little floating window for my video here. And we're just going to organize our window here a little bit. So now we want to start by creating that thumping bass sound. How do we do that? In our EQ, the easiest way to do that is turn on band 6, and we're just going to bring this back to around 350 hertz or so. So now when I play through the music, if I just show you in the timeline here, it's just going to sound like thumping bass. Okay, you hear a little bit of the other sound in there, but it's mostly that low-end bass kind of sound. Now, as the car pulls up and is directly in front of camera and I open the window, I want to hear the full music as it originally sounded. Then, as I put in the headphones, we want that music to go to that high-pitched metallic-y kind of sound. How do we do that? Well, we're going to watch the video back, and as our automation is recording what we're doing with the EQ, I'm going to take this 0.6 and just drag it back as the video's playing when I start to put the window down. Then, once the window's down and I go to put in my headphones, I'm going to go ahead and turn on band 1, and I'm just going to bring this up like this until it sounds the way I want it to sound. And by cutting out the lower end frequencies, it's going to give us that high-pitched headphone kind of sound, or at least what I think headphones sound like when somebody puts them in their ears. So that's how we're going to make the changes on the EQ, and we're going to do it in real time while the video's playing back. And those changes are going to be recorded. So in order to turn on our automation so that it's going to record, first, I'm going to set my playhead back to the beginning of my clip. I'm going to go ahead and click on this little icon right here, which turns on the recording. So the next time I hit the spacebar and start to play through my video, any change I make on the EQ is going to be recorded. And if we look in the EQ here, you can also see that it's got little red icons right below each one of the dials. And that's because that is what will be recorded as I make the changes over time. So I'm going to take my band 6, drag it back to around 350 hertz or so, and that's where we want to start with it. So I'm just going to play through my video now. I'm going to watch the video up here, and then I am going to watch for the point in time when I want to take my band 6 and I want that sound to go back to the full sound of the music as it was originally created. And I'm going to do that as I lower the window in the van. And then once I start to put in the headphones, like I showed you, I'm going to turn on band 1, and we're going to drag that up. So let's just go ahead and play it back, and all the changes I make on the EQ will be recorded, and then we can hear it afterwards.
Dad, the music's too loud. Turn it down.
My bad. Put in my headphones here. Fix that right up. See you later.
Okay, and that's it. Once I stop the playback, the changes are saved, and now it's no longer recording. And if we look at my EQ, you can see now we've got green lines underneath all of our controls, and that's because it's not currently recording. I can play back the video, and I'm not going to accidentally change anything or overwrite anything. So let's just play back the video here. We'll make our viewer a little bit bigger here so we can see it a little bit better, and we're going to see if it's doing what we want it to do.
Too loud. Turn it down.
My bad. Just put in my headphones here. Fix that right up. See you later.
Okay, so we have accomplished the effect of the music that we want, right? It kind of sounds the way we want it to. It starts to help tell that story of what's happening and why. And if you may have noticed in the background of DaVinci Resolve here, the EQ automated automatically. We saw it animated as the video was playing back because those changes are recorded and it's making those changes over time. Keyframes, not called keyframes, called automation, but keyframing, right, are changes over time. The next thing we want to do is think about the volume, right? How do we want to change the volume of our clip so that it makes sense and helps continue to tell the story a little bit more? So I'm going to go ahead and close my EQ because I think that sounds good. I'm happy with that. So under my enable section here in my toolbar, I want to change that and I want it to be fader because I'm going to work with the volume now. I don't need to work with the EQ anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. So now what's going to happen is when I enable the automation recording on my track, I'm going to go ahead and click that. You'll notice over in the mixer, now it's enabled right here, and now the fader is red. And the fader's red because it says, hey, I'm ready to record. As soon as you hit play, I'm recording. So again, we're gonna watch our video. We're gonna have the music be a little bit quieter as the van's farther away, get louder when the van is in front of us, and quieter as the van drives on down the driveway. Let's go ahead and bring our playhead back to the beginning. Our button is on here to record. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my fader a little lower, and I actually may make it a little louder just so you can hear the bass a little bit better in the beginning. But then we're going to change it over time, and we're going to just have it automate or change over time the volume of our clip. So let's go ahead and play through it, and as soon as I hit play, it's going to start recording, and we're just going to grab our fader here and make the changes that we want and make it sound the way that we want it to sound. So let's do that.
See you later.
Okay, so there we go. We changed the volume over time. Now, one thing to be careful of when you're doing something like this, and I notice I might have done it on accident there, is you don't want to be peaking. You want to make sure when you're watching your meters right here that you're not peaking and you're not getting too loud with your audio levels there. I think I may have peaked just a little bit. Just a little bit, so be careful of that. So now when we play back our video, we should hear that volume change over time. Let's take a quick listen to it. And you can see the fader moving over here.
Dad, the music's too loud. Turn it down.
My bad. Put in my headphones here. Fix that right up.
All right, so you kind of hear what's happening here. Now, I'm going to redo that real quick because it was peaking, and I don't want it to be peaking. So I'm going to come back to the beginning, and if I wanted to do something again, I can just simply come back to the beginning of my clip, click the record button, and just start over, and it's going to overwrite whatever I already put on there. Now, we can go and edit it, based on what we already did. I'm going to show you how you can see what you already did in the end of the video here once we do the panning automation. But in this case, I'm just going to re-record it. It's no big deal, and then we're going to move on to the next phase. So I'm going to do that. Don't go anywhere, and we'll be back in. Okay, I already did it. So now we're going to get into panning, right? We're trying to tell the story of what's happening in the scene with all this automation and with the audio moving around, changing volume, sounding different, right? We're building out the scene with just one basic music track. So again, I'm going to come back to the beginning of my clip here. And now we want to automate the pan because the van comes in from the right. I'm watching the video, comes in from the right, comes to the center, and then goes off to the left. So I want the audio to sound like it's coming from that way, right? I want to hear it from the right to the center to the left. So you could use your, in your inspector here, you could actually keyframe. So if I just select my clip here and not the track, select the clip, we could keyframe the pan right here. You could do it like that, but I'm going to use automation because that's what we're focusing on here. And remember, you can automate anything, whether it's effects, parameters in effects, dynamics, volume, panning, anything. You can automate anything that has to do with audio. I'm not going to do it in the inspector. We're going to use our automation tools to do it. Under the enable section right here, I'm going to turn off fader. And now I want to come to the pan section. I'm going to turn on pan. And in my mixer here, on my track 2, my music track, we have the pan section right here. So I'm going to open that up. I'm going to go ahead and enable our track to record. And now in the pan tool, you can see we've got all these different red lines under all of our parameters because it will get recorded as we make the changes over time. When I'm watching the video, I want to start with the pan all the way to the right because the van is coming from the right in the video. Then as the van comes to the right in front of the camera, we're going to go center channel there and both equal right and left channels. And then as the van drives away, we're going to pan it to the left because we want to build out that story of what's happening with the audio. So again, I'm just going to hit playback here by using my space bar. I'm going to watch the video and make the changes over time. Now I could just grab this point here and drag it, but just to make sure I stay, right at the top in the front, I'm just going to use my slider here and just fade it like that. So let's play through the video and do that.
Dad, the music's too loud. Turn it down.
My bad. Put in my headphones here. Fix that right up. See you later.
Okay, so there we go. Now we have the audio sounding like it's coming from one side, coming to the middle, and then going out the left. So all this automation just helps build the story of what's actually happening in our clip, right? If we just left the music flat, it doesn't sound like anything. You don't know what's going on. You don't know why. You can't tell the difference between the thumping bass, the window open, the headphones in. So automation allows us to create this really cool effect, a really cool story with our audio here to help the viewer understand what's actually happening in our scene. So back in Resolve here, it looks pretty good for the pan. I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and close that. We're going to pop our viewer back in. I'm just going to go ahead and turn off my automation controls here because we're done automating all the things that we want to automate. Now, real quick, I want to show you how you can see the changes that we made. So in order to see what we already did, the keyframes automation, we're going to want to make sure that this is still toggled on, the toggle automation. You need that still turned on. And if we come over to our music track, we can click on this little drop down, and this will show us a graphical representation of all the changes that we made. Now, you can only view one at a time. So for example, with the EQ here, if I come down to band 6, and what I was changing was the frequency, right? You can see different parameters of everything you can record here in DaVinci Resolve. But in this case, it was frequency. So if I click on frequency, now you're going to see what the graph looks like when I was changing the frequencies. Now, I think because we see this drop here, right? I think it's just because it can't keep going up. But in reality, it would just keep going up. I'm not sure why it appears this way. But we can also look at things like the pan, right? So if we come to pan and we did right, left pan, we can see here's where my pan changed over time, right? We can see in the beginning, then it starts to pan to, the center channel, and then it'll pan to the left. And if we zoom in on these, right, I put my playhead, for example, right here, and I zoom in, we can actually see these points, make it a little bit bigger there, and we can actually come in and change these points. We can click on them, we can delete them, we can move them, we can change them. You've got a lot of options on how you can modify your automation after you've already done it. Maybe you don't want to record it again, so you've got options on how you can change it and work with it once you've already recorded it too. You can even draw new automation in and maybe have it be a straight point, from, if I zoom out, maybe from, this point to that point, I want it to be a straight, fade line up. If I use this guy right here, the focus mode, And let's say I just select this part right there. I hit delete. It gets rid of all those extra little points because maybe I wasn't so smooth when I was dragging that slider back and forth. And now we can see that our line is smooth. It's just point to point, boom, and done. So if you wanted to get in and delete any kind of automation this way, you could come in, use your focus tool, and we could just select all these things on our clip and then just hit delete, and boom, now it's deleted all of our automation for us. So let's say maybe you automate something and then you decide, I don't know if I really want that. You can just go in there and delete it like this if you want, instead of re-recording it and overwriting what you already did. So were you one of those people that thought, hey, you can't change anything with your audio or make keyframes for things? But now you can, because you know about audio automation here, and it can just really help tell the story for your videos, help you do a lot of really awesome stuff with your audio. I get jazzed up about this because as an audio guy, this is just something that's so cool that you can work with to really create all kinds of different stuff. And it opens up a whole nother door for your audio and the things that you can do with it. I want to know, are you guys going to try out some automation? If you do, link your video down below. I want to see how you guys use it and what kind of creative things that you guys come up with when it comes to your audio automation. And a quick side note, it would be a whole lot easier if you had like a Blackmagic panel maybe, and you could turn buttons and sliders and things versus using a mouse. You'll get a lot smoother results and stuff. And I may be trying out one of those Resolve panels soon, the audio one. It looks pretty cool. I think I'm gonna have to give it a try. But it's gonna work a little bit better with something like that where you actually have physical knobs and dials and buttons to use versus just using a mouse. So keep that in mind, but you can get in there, play with it, and you can still get great results and tell a story by using audio automation. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna go play with some more automation stuff here. You should too. And with that said, guys, thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. If you liked it, give me a little thumbs up, would you? Maybe subscribe if you want to learn a little more about audio and just taking your videos to the next level with some awesome audio. All right, guys, we'll see you.
Peace.